Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha Tatsavitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Satgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Amritam Gamya Om Sahnavatu सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 ओम. So today is our Vivekachudamani day. We are on verse number 101. Adhatva mandatva patutva dharmaha so gunye vagunye vashat hi chakshusha बाधिर्ये मुकत्व मुखा तथा श्रोत्र आदि धर्मः न tu vetuhu atmana. Okay, when we look at it, first all the words are together and it seems like a really difficult Sanskrit, but it's not. If you just break it down, first line, andhatva means blindness, andha, andhatva. Mandatva, weakness. Patutva, sharpness. Dharma is the conditions. So blindness, weakness and sharpness, these conditions. So gunya hai, vagunya vashat are as per the fitness or defectiveness. So gun is the fitness, vagun is defectiveness. He means indeed chakshusha of the eyes. Badhirya mukatva mukha, deafness, muteness, etc. Tatha means also, ev means only, shrotra adi dharma, the conditions of the ear, etc. Shrotra. No means not, tu means but, vetuhu, of the all-knower, vetu. Atmanaha, the Atma. So Shankaracharya ji is saying that blindness, weakness, sharpness of the eyes are conditions merely due to its defect or fitness. So it's a defect or the fitness of the equipment. That's what he's trying to tell us. So too, deafness, dumbness, etc. belong to the ear, etc. These attributes can never belong to the Atma. That is the point he's trying to make. And what is Atma? The all-knowing principle, the consciousness. So there's never a sharp Atma or a dull Atma. So the gross imperfections of the organs belong to the respective parts of the gross body. Atma, the self, is not involved in the imperfections because it's absolute, it's immaculate. Okay, so instrument can be either efficient or defective, but the owner is not. Okay, so this is the point he's trying to make. The Atma is perfect everywhere and is the knower of everything. So it's the Atma is behind the ear and the eye and other parts of the body, which illumines these conditions, but the conditions is dependent upon the hardware. Okay, you are always unaffected by any of these conditions. That's why that very popular saying, thou art the self. Now he is going to move in the next verse into the prana also. Sometimes we think pran is what we are. So he's trying to clarify this notion in our mind too. उश्वास निश्वास विजृंभण क्षुत प्रस्पदन आदि उत्क्रमण आदि का क्रिया तदज्ञः प्राण आदि कर्माणि वदन्ति प्राणस्य धर्मः अश्नः पिपासेः. उश्वास, that means inhalation. निश्वास, exhalation. विजृंभण कुशुत प्रस्पदन आदि उत्क्रमण आदि का. Those are yawning, sneezing, secretion, dying, etc. All the rest of the things which really happen with the help of the prana. Kriya means actions. Tajgya, those who know. Pran adi karmani, as the activities of the pran. Vadanti, declare or say. Pranasya, of prana. Dharmau, dharmas, or the qualities. Ashnaha pipasehe, hunger and thirst. So he says experts call inhalation, exhalation, yawning, sneezing, secretion, death, etc. as functions of the prana. While hunger and thirst are the dharmas of the main prana. So who are the experts? Experts who have an exhaustive knowledge of the physical body, who know the anatomy of this physical structure. So they know that these are merely the physiological functions. 10 prans normally we talk about. 5 pran and 5 upapran. So he's mentioning all of them over here. So upaprans are the subsidiary pran. So he says this hunger, thirst, all of this belongs to only prana. You are definitely the illuminator of all the conditions. Okay, Atma is the definitely the energy giver, but the whole body is functioning because of the prans. So the Atma illumines their conditions, their demands, and their functions. Okay, it is ever present, but it can never be affected by the pran, because Atma is the changeless awareness. So he has been talking about the gross body, the subtle body, the pran. So at the end I said it's ever present and can never be affected by the pran. It is the changeless awareness. Now in verse number 103 and 104 and 5, he is discussing the ego again. And ego is part of the subtle body, which is called antakaran. So he is opening it up for us further so that we can understand what this ego is. Antah karnam eteshu chakshu adishu vashmanihi aham iti abhimanena tishtati abhas tejsaha. Antakarnam, the inner organ. Eteshu, in these. Chakshu adishu, eye, etc. Varchashmanihi, in the body, gross body. Aham iti, as I. Abhimanen, identifying. So it's like a identification or the egoism that I am. Tishtati, exists. Abhas tejasaha, with the reflection of the Atma or the effulgence of the Atma. The inner equipment has its seat of expression in the sense organs, such as the eye, etc. Identifying with them, it exists, clothed in just the reflection of the Atma. Okay, so the mind functions through the 5 organs of perception, we know that. That's why we say when the mind is controlled, the sense organs are controlled. And the sense organs are the platforms upon which the mind functions. So it's almost like they can function only they are connected with the mind. When the mind is not connected with that particular function, we are not even aware of it. Sometimes we are looking somewhere, but mind is not connected. So when it functions through the mind, it becomes the illuminator of what the senses are doing. So it's like a together, mind and the senses together. It's almost like a play of the sunlight. Only when the sunlight is reflected upon an object, it is perceived. Pure light is not perceptible. So when consciousness is reflected upon a thing, one becomes conscious of the thing. That's why we see that when the mind is agitated, even the intelligence in an individual becomes dull. That is the effect of that agitation in the mind. Quieter the mind, brighter the intelligence. Self is still the same. Self hasn't changed. So self remaining the same, the light of intelligence in an individual is directly proportional to the quietness or the calmness of the mind. So that's how important this mind is. So it's not the self, the pure consciousness, which is functioning as I, but it's its reflection. Otherwise, we call it an ego. And that's the point he's trying to make. He says, aham iti abhimanen. So ego, which functions as I, at all the moments of the waking, dreaming states of our expression. Read this translation again. The inner equipment has its seat of expression in the sense organs, such as the eyes, etc. Identifying with them, it exists, clothed in just the reflection of the Atma. Okay. Then further he says in the next verse, again about the ahankar, ego. Ahankara savigeya karta bhogta abhimanani ayam sattva adi gun yogena cha avasthatrayam ashnute. Ahankar, ego. Sa means it. Vigeya, no. Karta, the doer. Bhogta, the experiencer. Abhimane, identifying. Ayam means this. Sattva adi gun yogain, in conjunction with the gunas like sattva, etc. Avasthatrayam, in 3 different states. And what are the 3 different states? Waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. These are the 3 states. Ashnute, enjoys. Know that it is the ego which identifying with the body becomes the doer or the experiencer. And in union with the gunas, such as sattva, this ego assumes the three different states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So, in each one of us, the vanity of a feeling that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the seer, I am the hearer, smeller, I am the feeler and the thinker is called Jeev. Okay? It's like the individuality in us. So, he who arrogates actions to himself by saying, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, then he is the experiencer of joys and sorrows. And that's why it's called a little ego, the little I. This sense of individuality. So this is under the clutches of the gunas, this I. The real I is beyond that. This ahankar, this individuality is under the pressure of all these gunas. So, or the sense of individuality, when it identifies with these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, then you express itself in the three states of consciousness: waking, dream, and deep sleep. And that's what roughly we say, that ego conditioned by sattva is the waker. Conditioned by the rajas, it is a dreamer. And conditioned by tamas, it's a deep sleeper. So in general, philosophers talk like that. So same ego according to the condition of the mind. It experiences three states. So ego conditioned by sattva is the waker. Conditioned by the rajas is the dreamer. And by tamas is the deep sleeper. So all these states, we can see that we are claiming, the ego is the one which is claiming the doer and the experiencer, not aware of the Atma. So that's why he's trying to just open it up for us, what ego really does. How does it really function? Now, one more verse on the ego. Vishya naam anukulye sukhi dukhi viprehe sukham dukham cha tadharmaha sada nandasya na atmanaha. Vishya naam, the sense objects. Anukulye, favorable. See, we are familiar with anukul word and pratikul word, right? Anukul is favorable. Sukhi, happy. Dukhi, miserable. Vipre, contrary. Sukham, happiness. Dukham, misery. Cha means and, the dharmaha, the dharmas of that. That means dharmas of the ego. Sada nandasya, of the ever blissful. Sadananda, eternally blissful. Na atmanaha, not for the atma. When the sense objects are conducive, favorable, the situation is happy. When they are non-conducive, it is miserable. We all go through it several times a day. Conducive and non-conducive. Happiness and miserable. Happiness and misery are therefore the dharma of the ego and do not belong to the Atma, which is ever blissful. Okay, so when we say, I'm not happy, I'm miserable, or now I'm happy, It's the ego which is talking. Atma is always blissful. So that's why the people who are who identify themselves with the Atma, they have experienced it. What do we see on their faces? A bliss. Because they identify with the real them, not the changing worldly conditions. And normally what happens, the same situation, outer situation, for some person it could be conducive, the other person can say it's not conducive. It's not the same situation is conducive to everybody. A person who likes to smoke, very conducive. A person who is allergic to it, non-conducive. Who decides that? Our own existing vasanas. Vasanas. Happiness is often born of self-gratification. And self-gratification is normally dependent upon our own vasanas. Some people are comfortable with a dirty place. Others don't like it, according to the vasanas. When in the outer world things happen against our intentions, our purposes, a person becomes unhappy, according to the vasanas. But this bliss we are talking about, it's within us, it's solely dependent upon it's like a nature of us. If a person has found this secret, that I am that which is always blissful, whether outer conditions are conducive or non-conducive. A person understands that happiness and sorrow, which is dependent upon the outside conditions, that is the ego. This is what we have to learn. I, the self, is functioning through the mind and through the senses. This I, which I think I am the I right now, it is only, this is called a abhas matram. And we have to rise above that abhas matram. So apparently, which something seems I, it's not I. My reflection in the mirror depends upon the curvature of the reflecting surface. If it is concave, my reflection is short. If it's convex, it is long. But I am what in reality I am. So if I'm finding happiness somewhere and misery somewhere else, I am just only looking at my life through these surfaces. But to look within and see the real me, which is always blissful, not in the reflected surface. So always remember, happiness and sorrow do not belong to the Atma. The nature of the self is Sada Nand. That is the term for Atma. Ever blissful. There's no opposite of that. So happiness and sorrow belong to the reflection, the ego. Okay. Now in the next couple of verses, he's talking about the self. Infinite self. Atma अर्थ तवेन ही प्रेयान विषयः न स्वतः प्रिया स्वतः एव हि सर्वेषाम् आत्मा प्रियतमः यथा तथा आत्मा सदानन्दः न अस्य दुःखं कदाचन. Atam Arth Taven, because of the self. Atam Arth Taven. He means only. Prey on, pleasure giving. Vishyaha, sense objects. Na means not, swataha, independently. Priya, dear. Swataha, by itself. Ev he, that means verily. Sarvesham, of all. Atma, the soul. Priyatamaha, the most beloved. Yataha, because. Tataha, therefore. Atma again, Sada Ananda, ever blissful. Na means never, asya to it, dukkham misery, kadachan, anytime. Sense objects are pleasure giving only because of the self which manifests through them and not independently. Okay, so it's like the real happiness is actually coming from the self, not from the objects. We just misunderstand it. So sense objects are pleasure giving only because of the self which manifests through them and not independently. For the self is by its very nature the most beloved of all. The self therefore is ever blissful and can never suffer any grief or misery. Kadachan, never. There can never be misery in the self. Only the sense objects of the world, sure, they seem pleasurable sometimes, but they seem pleasurable only when they are illumined by the Atma. The life. The things are pleasurable only when I'm alive. For a dead person, it doesn't even matter. From dead, nothing is pleasurable. So a thing in itself, see, this is what he's trying to tell us. A thing in itself has no joy. The happiness which seems to come from the objects is in fact due to the nature of the Atma, which is happiness itself. So, in other words, the most enjoyable thing in every one of us is our own Atma. It is indeed blissful at all times. So the joy content is not in the object, it's in the consciousness, the pure bliss of the self. Okay? So universally, everybody wants joy. But nobody really tries to understand where the joy is coming from. We don't sit back and really understand it. So that's why this great teacher is asking us to pause for a moment and to reflect upon the location of the fountainhead of the joy, which is within us. We are just running everywhere else to find it. There's nothing wrong in finding the joy, but where we are looking for it, it's not there. It's already within us. So that's why he says, just look within. The Atma is of the nature of the bliss. There's not even a trace of sorrow in the Atma. It's only the bliss. In the next verse, he says, Yat sushuptahu nirvishyaha atmanandaha anubhuyate shruti pratyaksham etihim anumanam cha jagrati. Yat means that which sushuptahu, in deep sleep, nirvishyaha, independent of sense objects, Atam Anandaha, bliss of the Atma. Anubhuyate is experienced. Shruti, the scriptures, the scriptural declarations, Shruti. Pratyaksham, direct experience. Etihiyam, tradition. Anumanam, inference. Jagrati, clearly say. Or it's like a waking state where clearly you see it. Jagrat. Scriptural declarations, direct experience, tradition, and inference clearly say that in deep sleep, we experience the bliss of the Atma, independent of sense objects. Okay? So it's like we are so close because there's mind is not functioning, the body is not functioning, there's no joy is coming from outside. So we feel the experience, the joy within. So in the state of deep sleep, where there are no objects, the joy experienced is the bliss of the self. We are not able to feel this experience. Average person doesn't feel this joy in the waking state or even in the dream state. It's a state of non-apprehension. But actually this joy is it's like an absence of the sorrow. Because there's no sorrow, then we feel a joy. It's like a stillness over there. Objectless awareness, they call it. In this sushupti. Yataha sushuptahu. Okay, in deep sleep, objectlessness. There's no object to disturb us. Because even in the dream, there are objects. From the mind, there are objects. Even though outside objects are not there, but the impressions of those objects in our mind, they still have the effect on us. But in the deep sleep, it's a complete objectlessness. There's no awareness. But there's no awareness of the divine either. We are just so close to it, we just feel, we don't feel any sorrow. So the joy experienced during deep sleep, we know that it's not because of the pillow. It's not because of the perfect temperature of the room. It's not even the achievements of the yesterday. But still we feel it. Where is it coming from? So that's why he says the Shrutis declare it. Direct experience of the people says it. There's a observation. There's an inference, which is called Anuman also. So all the great people are saying it. So we got to believe in it. Okay. So this is actually it's not that when we go into the deep sleep, when we come out of it, we are any more enriched in knowledge. When we go into samadhi, it's different. Okay, that is it. Consciously we are rising above these layers. But deep sleep, sure, we feel good about it because there was a lack of sorrow. Okay, but it's a lack of wisdom also, lack of knowledge also. So that's why it's not like we got to go through the deep sleep every day and we'll solve the puzzle. No. In order to solve the puzzle, in order to really attain this a goal of this life, we have to go through the samadhis. Okay, so that is one difference between samadhi and that. Now there is a new topic starting from the next verse about Maya. We say this term again and again, no matter which book we look at it, Maya. It's called avidya also. It's called illusion also. So Shankaracharya ji is opening it up for us in the next 3 verses what Maya is right now. So I would say let's stop it here, because we are going to do meditation at the end of this class. We'll end the class with meditation. But before meditation, let's see if you guys have any questions. Then next week we don't have this class. Next week we have a retreat on Patanjali Sutras. So in 2 weeks, we'll start from verse number 108. Okay? So any questions?
Sujata has a question. Sujata?
Yes, Sujata. Unmute, please.
Okay, now it wasn't letting me unmute initially.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah. I guess my question was, I feel like there's a slight contradiction in the fact that we say deep sleep is where the tamas gun is the most predominant.
Mm-hmm.
When we are the closest to our real nature in deep sleep, and we feel an absence of sorrow and the absence of
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to reconcile those two things. We say that being awake and or dreaming is where satogun and the rajogun have their play, and in deep sleep we say tamas.
Yeah, tamas in the sense, even though we feel relaxed, this relaxation or the happiness is because of the lack of sorrow.
Right.
It's not because that we have gained something. It's not a gain of a knowledge. So in that sense, they say it's a tamsikta. It's like a sleep, deep sleep. Deep sleep is considered tamsikta in that sense. Because no matter how long we deeply sleep, we are not going to become wise. Wisdom doesn't arise from there. We all been deep sleeping. See, suppose a person goes into hibernation, deep sleep, or even a person goes into coma. There's no change. In that sense, they say it's a tamsikta.
Okay. So in terms of evolution, in terms of self-evolution.
Yes. In evolution or any change, there's nothing is happening. It's a absence of sorrow gives us the peace. Okay. Even though we are close to the Atma, but no apprehension of that. So that's why the philosophers call that. That is a tamsikta. Okay. Yes, Jyoti.
Poonam?
Oh, I had a similar question. I think whatever Sujata wanted to ask, but I am still. You said it is conditioned. Deep sleep is conditioned by tamsikta, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing is that it is the most peaceful we are, closest to the Atma. So then, why we want to raise ourselves to sattvic? But then you answered that we don't learn anything while we are in deep sleep. So we
are not evolving. Yeah.
We are not evolving.
We are not evolving. We are not getting rid of any vasanas in us.
Yeah. Okay. So we can only meditate while we are awake, not while we are asleep, I guess.
Exactly. So that's why otherwise a person will think, oh, I'm going to go into deep sleep every day longer.
Yeah.
And I will attain the godhood. That's not how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Consciously, we have to clean our own antakara.
Yep.
Okay? So that's why. Yes, Jyoti.
Raj Mittal.
Yes,
last
Raj.
question.
What are 5 Uppuran?
Yeah, 5 Uppuran is just like a Sanskrit names. I don't have them with me right now, but it's like a yawning, the sneezing, the burping, And there is a prana. Tomorrow I'll give you the Sanskrit names also, okay?
Okay.
So, and then there's a prana which leaves, when the main prana is gone, it stays in the body, which is a cause of making this body a little, when the soul has left, after that, what happens in the body? It stays there for that also. Whatever needs to be done with this gross body. Okay, I'll give you the name tomorrow. I don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, but these are called upapran. So it's almost like even blinking of the eyes. There's a special name for blinking of the eyes and the yawning, sneezing. So these rishis, they really did a lot of study on the prana. And the main 5 prans, you know, right?
Saman, Upan.
Yeah, right. Those are the pran, saman, apan, vyan, udan. Okay. So those are the main 5, but then there are 5 upaprans. Okay, subsidiary prans. The other functions. So these names are given according to the function in the body.
Could you say, repeat those 5?
5 main prans is a pran.
Uh-huh.
Then there's a saman,
Saman. Okay.
apan,
Uh-huh.
vyan,
Riyan.
vyan, V-Y-A-N-A, vyan.
Oh,
And
Viyan. Okay. Uh-huh.
and udan.
Udan. Okay.
Yeah, udan. So it's like basically according to the functions of the body. Saman is in the digestive area.
Uh-huh.
Apan is in the excretion. Vyan is in all the limbs. The whole circulation happens vyan. And udan is
Udan.
upper thoracic area.
Okay.
And then main pran is in the chest area.
Chest area.
So
Can you Harshji say again Sapan?
Panch pran.
Yeah, Sapan ka kya kaam hai?
Apan.
Apan.
No, what was the second one?
Saman. Saman is digestive area. Digestive. Yeah. Okay, in the stomach area.
Thanks.
Okay. So anybody else? Any more questions? No? Okay.
I think Pramila had a question.
Yes, Pramila. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, when are we doing the blessing? Now or after the meditation? No, before.
We can do, no, before the meditation.
After
after meditation,
okay,
we just finish the class. We just turn it off.
When you do a Shantri mantra or
Yeah.
after that. Okay.
Harshji, this verse 103, could you just explain a little bit more on that 103? I did not get.
103, what he's saying, let me read it. The inner equipment, which is called antakaran, which is also called the subtle body, has its seat of expression in the sense organs. How does a mind express? Through the senses. That's what, such as the eyes, etc. So eyes, ear, nose, taste, tongue, those are the sense organs. Identifying with them, it exists clothed in just the reflection of the Atma. So in other words, if Atma is not there, the Antakaran cannot work. But Antakaran is working because of the Atma through the sense object, senses. So it's just like he's trying to explain it to us, our own body, subtle body. That's all he's saying. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So presence of the Atma is needed. If the Atma is not there, then mind cannot function. The senses cannot function. But we forget the presence of the Atma all we do is, I mean, if you look at it, 24 hours a day, how many times we think about the Atma, that I am the Atma? Or even the mind sometimes. Our attention is only into the objects. So by giving us a beautiful diagram, he says, just go little within. Do not stay deluded. Okay, so that is the
Thank you.
purpose of this, just to know who we are. Because otherwise, normally, yeah, we all know theoretically we are the Atma, but with these verses, he's just going into the detail, how the mind is functioning, how the ego is functioning, how the sense objects or sense organs, and even the pran now, how this whole diagram is working out. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay, all right. So let's do
Blessings.
the Purnamada, the mantra. And even though we asked Dr. Saab to recite some mantras today, would you like to do that? Are you ready today? Unmute yourself, please. Unmute. We can't hear you. Unmute.
Which one is he on?
And Jyoti, I think he cannot hear.
Can you unmute yourself?
Jyoti got the unmute, no?
Jyoti, can you unmute him?
No.
I can. I can.
How about now?
There you go. There you go. There you
Okay,
go.
so I did get a signal there to unmute, then I was able to do it.
Okay.
Sorry about this. I'm not technologically savvy.
I know,
guy.
no need to apologize, but we are all the same. That's how we learned. Okay. Would you like to sing something for us
Yeah, I
today?
will sing a song.
Please do.
I have to ask everybody's forgiveness because I don't speak Hindi, but whatever I could hear through, I wrote it down.
Okay.
And I'm going to sing this.
Okay, please do.
Song.
Yes.
Hey Govind, Hey Gopal, Hey Govind, Hey Gopal, Hey Govind, Rakho Sharana, Hey Govind, Rakho Sharana. अब ते जीवन हारे हे गोविंद हे गोपाल नीर पीवन हेत गयो नीर पीवन हेत गयो सिंध के किनारे सिंध बीच बसत ग्राहो सिंध बीच बसत ग्राहो चरण दरे पछारे हे गोविंद हे गोपाल हे गोविंद राखो शरण हे गोविंद राखो शरण अब ते जीवन हारे हे गोविंद चार प्रहर युद्ध भयो चार प्रहर युद्ध भयो ले गए मझधारे नाक कान धुवन लागे नाक कान धुवन लागे कृष्ण को पुकारे हे गोविंद हे गोपाल हे गोविंद राखो शरण हे गोविंद राखो शरण अब ते जीवन हारे, हे गोविंद हे गोपाल। शूर कहे श्याम सुनो, शूर कहे श्याम सुनो, शरण है तिहारे, अब की बार पार करो, अब की बार पार करो, नंद के दुलारे, हे गोविंद हे गोपाल, हे गोविंद राखो शरण, हे गोविंद राखो शरण, अब ते जीवन हारे, हे गोविंद हे गोपाल। Thank you. I'm sorry.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Beautiful. You say you don't know Hindi, but
Yeah, I listened to this and I wrote it down.
yeah, excellent. So really
Got
enjoyed
it.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
saying.
I'm sorry, I was shaking. It's the first time I did it.
No. I
I
really
was
did
enjoyed
wonderful.
it. I'm sure
nervous.
everybody else enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Please
for
do
listening.
sing
God
for
bless
us
you
from
all.
time
You're
to
doing a
time.
great job, Hershey ji. I like the way you're presenting things. I always feel this one question for me. The Atma is a silent observer, the way I hear from you.
Yes.
How can the soul then progress to reach God, and he just being a silent observer? How is he going to improve that I am going one step further towards God? How will the Atma knows that? I mean, for example, a rapist or a murderer, all the Atmas being a silent observer in both. I don't know how say like a girl being raped. I hate to say this, but this is haunting me like anything. How will that Atma sitting there and watching that?
Yeah, Atma just stays there, watches. But this Prakriti part in us, no matter how much a tamasic a person is, like a rapist and the murders you're talking about, nobody is 100% tamasic. There's a little light of Satvikta and the Rajsikta in everybody. And there's a chance of that to come up also. And it does. It does from time to time, it does. And that is the time to make the decision. Okay?
Right.
So nobody is, see, Atma is pure, all 100% blissful in all of us. There's no doubt about it. That's what the scriptures talk about. Okay? So it's like a decisions which have been made for countless lifetimes. It just, that's how we have just created that mesh on top of it. But it does come out. There's a hope for all of us. Nobody is 100%. There's nobody just who's not going to reach there sooner or later.
One more to add this, say like animal form or any other form. How would this is the soul in the animals too, correct?
Yeah, animals, see, any other species other than human beings, they are called bhog yoni. Yoni means the species. So we have, as a human being, we have the freedom to change. Over there, because of their old karmas, they are only extinguishing those karmas. We are extinguishing also, we are creating also. And we can change the direction also. But they are only going through that. And once those karmas have been extinguished, then they'll come back into a human form. Okay? So they cannot make a change. As a cat or as a dog or as a reptile or as a tree, they cannot change. Atma is still the same in them. That God element in them is the same.
Explain.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk more and more about it.
Yeah, thank you. I have some more question. I'll catch up later.
Yeah, catch up. Yeah, we'll talk about it more and more, but these are like a fundamentals. And once we understand these fundamentals, then sometimes these questions get answered also. But it's okay to ask. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
So we're going to just do a short meditation today. Or maybe in this class, because there are some students who come only once in a while or only on Saturdays. So let's not have meditation, just a bhajan after this. So we'll just do the Purnamada and end the class. No meditation. Meditation only the Thursday. It doesn't work out. Because I would like to have this interaction where I answer the questions also. Okay. But the reason we do meditation, because a lot of answers, they come during meditation. So on your own, please do meditate. Please do meditate, okay, every single day. So but group meditation, we'll just keep it only for Thursday. Okay, Jyoti? Yeah, Thursday we do like a 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. Saturday it's not going to work out, I think. And especially after listening to that beautiful bhajan, I would like to listen to bhajans also. Because this devotional part, it really cleans our heart also. That's very important. So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om. So today is my birthday, so I would like to get blessing from you. I think many guys. Normally, whoever is the oldest in the congregation, I ask them, that person, to give me the blessings. So I think Manny is the oldest. You are older than Manny?
Who's older?
You are muted again, Dr. Saab.
Okay, you want
He's
do it now?
muted.
I am 73. I think I can bless you. God bless you, and wish you continue your services to the humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Thank you. It means a lot to me to get everybody's blessings. And I'm turning 65 today, and it really feels good to be 65.
Thank you.
It feels great. Yes. Okay, Manny, if you can bless me.
हर्ष संकल्प होगा पहले, उसके बाद फिर जो भक्तजन बैठे हुए हैं वो आशीर्वाद देंगे आपको.
ओके.
मैं अपने अगले जन्मदिन तक और अधिक शुभ गुणों को अपने जीवन में लाऊंगी. अपने दोषों को दूर करूंगी. योगाभ्यास को निरंतर करती रहूंगी और श्री प्रभु जी के चरणों में भक्ति को और अधिक दृढ़ करने का यत्न करूंगी. अब सभी लोग जो है श्रद्धालु जो बैठे हैं वो आशीर्वाद देंगे हर्षी को. तो you repeat, not Hershey this time. Now it's you guys are speaking. Hey Hershey. Twam Ayushmati Varchasvini Tejasvini Shrimati Bhuya. God bless her with many years of service.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
वैसे
हैप्पी बर्थडे.
हर्ष जी, आज के दिन हम भी बड़े होके ब्लेसिंग्स कर सकते हैं.
Yeah, of course, blessings. Yes, definitely. You can all bless me.
हमारे दिल से आती है तो they are good.
Yeah, thank you.
बिल्कुल. हर्ष जी, वैसे